The company Splashworks was founded by Peter Henman, who actually studied mining engineering at UCT, if I remember correctly. Splashworks specializes in the distribution of high quality plumbing components, not only in South Africa, but also to other countries in the world. This new warehouse, which we were fortunate enough to be appointed on, and offices for Splashworks, is located in Firgrove Industrial Estate near Somerset West in the Western Cape, and will house all facets of Splashworks, including distribution, showrooms, boardrooms, etc. Construction started in January 2019 and completion is expected soon, by the end of August 2019, so it's actually very soon. The duration of the civil portion of the contract was approximately 3 months, and the total duration of both the civil and structural works was programmed over a period of 8 months. Due to the site being quite open, the high wind speeds resulted in a few challenges on site, especially at the start of the project. Due to the bulk earthworks being completed many weeks before the construction of the main structure started, some of the compaction had to be redone due to soil erosion. There was a lot of wind initially during the bulk earthworks phase. And once excavations for the foundation started, the high winds also often blew sand into the foundations, resulting in a few delays. And obviously, this would contaminate the concrete if it wasn't cleaned. So it always had to be cleaned before the concrete was cast, and this resulted in many delays. But once the structure started coming out of the ground, things improved, and the contractor managed to catch up most of the lost time.
The national specifications for civil engineering measurements are contained in the SANS 1200 documents. For this assignment, we take a look at SANS 1200C and SANS 1200D. SANS 1200C contains specifications to do with site clearance. This includes the removal of trees and vegetation, the removal of boulders and other surface obstruction, and demolition of structures on site. It also contains specifications to do with the conservation of flora on site and the surrounding environment. Now, I will be taking a closer look at SANS 1200C Site Clearance Bill. The site clearance specification covers the removal of the following: vegetation, boulders up to 0.15 meters cubed, surface obstructions, the demolition and removal of structures that are not directly associated with or identical to any excavations. If we take a look at the bill of quantities provided to us by Splashworks, we can see that they divided it up into two sections. Section 1 deals with the roads and parking on the site, whereas Section 2 includes the bulk earthworks for our site. Firstly, we'll have a look at the site clearance for Section 1, the roads and parking of our site. If we refer to SANS 1200C Clause 8.2.1, we can see that they cleared and grubbed the full width of the parking area, including trees, shrubs, bush and vegetation. With reference to our bill, we can see that they cleared 0.4 hectares. Clause 8.2.2 refers to the removal and grub of large trees and tree stumps, and spoil off-site at the site to be located by the contractor. We had 10 trees over 1 meter girth and up to and including 2 meters girth, 4 trees over 2 meters girth, and 1 tree over 3 meters girth. Having a look at Section 2, the bulk earthworks of the site, which includes the buildings and the kennels of the site, we can see that the site clearance is relatively similar to Section 1. Clause 8.2.1 shows that they started off with a site clearance, which is the clearing and grubbing for an area of 0.6 hectares. Clause 8.2.2 then refers to the removal and grubbing of large trees and tree stumps. We can see that there were 10 in number over 1 meter girth and 1 over 2 meters girth on the site that needed to be cleared. However, where Section 2 differs from Section 1 in terms of clearance of the site is Clause 8.2.10, the preparation of the site. This includes stripping topsoil to a nominal depth of 150 millimeters over the building area, as well as the transportation of the soil off-site. This is measured in meters cubed. A geotechnical report of the site revealed that the soil on-site was made up of calcrete. Calcrete is a soil which is white in color and similar to beach sand, and this had to be stripped off the entire site before construction could begin. SANS 1200D is for general earthworks, bulk earthworks, terracing, and landscaping. The specifications for earthworks in SANS 1200D include excavation, filling, compacting, and finishing. This section also includes some specifications to do with safety precautions on site and the material classifications of the excavations. SANS 1200D is further divided into subsections, and we will be looking at the ones that are relevant to our case study.
Clause 8.3.2 of SANS 1200D refers to bulk excavation. It requires separate items to be scheduled for each type of excavation, each type of structure, each type of class, and each different type of manner of disposal. The rate shall cover the cost of complying with all precautions required in terms of Clause 5.1, in addition to the cost of excavation, the cost of basic selection, loading, transportation within free-haul distance, offloading, spreading and backfilling, watering, compacting, final grading, and disposal. Clause 8.3.3 deals with restricted excavations. This involves excavations for restricted foundations, footings, and pipe trenches in all materials and used for bankfill or embankment or disposal. Separate items are to be scheduled for separate structures, and pipe trenches are to be separated at different depths in 1 meter increments. All restricted excavations are to be measured in cubic meter.
The bulk earthworks tender and construction was done before the main project. The building work for the main project went out to tender, and therefore the bulk earthworks, which was the platforms which were completed a couple of weeks before the main contractor came to site, these platforms were exposed to wind and weather, and particularly the wind resulted in a lot of erosion of soils, which had to then be recompacted once the main contractor was on site. So that was one of the main challenges. The wind, because it's very sandy soils, it sort of appears to be, it looks like beach sand. I think the description in the geotech is calcrete, so we must just confirm that. But it easily gets blown away.
So as a result, did it have to be reworked, and it was at an extra cost?
Yeah, so it had to be reworked, and once they started digging the foundations, we checked the bearing pressures and we saw that the compaction had deteriorated, so a lot of the strip footings and foundations had to be recompacted. So the access roads and parking areas also have to accommodate large vehicles for delivery and obviously collection of materials. So there are routes that large trucks travel on, and the pavement design, in other words the layer works design in these areas, was heavier than in the normal parking areas for the light vehicles. And we also used 80mm interlocking paving as opposed to 60mm interlocking paving.